Imagine you are a young woman, 7 months pregnant, and every single morning you wake up feeling the baby moving inside you, kicking, shifting, reminding you that the most beautiful moment of your life is just a few weeks away. You have spent months getting ready, painting the nursery, folding tiny clothes, counting the days, dreaming about the sound of your baby's first cry, dreaming about the very first time you hold that baby in your arms. Now imagine that on one ordinary morning at 7:30, just as the sun is coming up and the world outside is still quiet, someone knocks on your front door. You are not expecting anyone that early, but you walk to the door anyway. You open it, and standing there is a woman you recognize, someone who smiles at you, someone who gives you no reason in that moment to feel anything other than completely safe. You smile back at her, and that is the very last thing you ever do. Because the woman standing at your door that morning had spent the last 10 months pretending to be pregnant. She had bought a fake belly and strapped it to her body every single day. She had created fake ultrasound pictures and shown them to her family as though they were real. She had thrown herself a gender reveal party and let the people who loved her celebrate a baby that never existed. And when the moment came that the lie was about to fall apart completely, she did not stop. She did not confess. She came to your door instead. That is exactly what happened to Reagan Simmons Hancock, and this is her story. Before we go any further, if you are the kind of person who cannot walk away from a story once it gets inside your mind, this is your channel. Subscribe right now so you never miss what we uncover next. To understand everything that happened on that October morning, you first have to understand who Taylor Parker was before any of this began. Taylor Parker was a young woman in her late 20s, living in the small town of New Boston, in the state of Texas, in the United States of America. From the outside, her life looked completely ordinary. She had a job, she had a home, and she had a boyfriend named Wade Griffin. Taylor Parker loved Wade, and Taylor Parker was afraid of losing Wade. That fear was the thing that sat at the very center of everything that came after, because Taylor Parker had convinced herself that the only thing that would make Wade stay, the only thing that would lock the future she wanted into place, was a baby. But there was one problem. Taylor Parker was not pregnant, and instead of accepting that truth, Taylor Parker made a decision that would eventually destroy everything around her, including herself. Sometime in early 2020, Taylor Parker began telling the people in her life that she was expecting a baby. She told Wade first. She watched his face change, and she let him believe it. Then she told her family. Then she told her friends. She accepted the hugs, the congratulations, the excitement of people who had no reason in the world to question her. And the lie began to grow. But Taylor Parker understood something important. She understood that a lie this big could not survive on words alone. People were going to want to see things. They were going to want proof. They were going to want to watch the belly grow month by month. And so, Taylor Parker went much further than just telling people she was pregnant. Taylor Parker purchased a silicone pregnancy belly, the kind that is so carefully made and so realistic in weight and shape that when it is strapped to a woman's body, it is nearly impossible to tell from the real thing. And from that moment on, Taylor Parker wore that belly every single day. She wore it around Wade. She wore it at family gatherings. She wore it in public. And the people around her watched what they believed was a real pregnancy growing right in front of their eyes over months and months of time. But she still did not stop there. Taylor Parker created fake ultrasound pictures, the kind of grainy black and white images that a real pregnant woman receives from her doctor during a checkup, showing the outline of a baby inside the womb. Taylor Parker made fake versions of these images, and she shared them with the people closest to her. She watched grown adults look at pictures of a baby that did not exist, and she accepted their love and their wonder as though every single thing was completely real. And then Taylor Parker did something that almost no one who hears this story can quite believe. She threw herself a gender reveal party. She invited people she knew. She organized the celebration. She stood in front of her friends and her family, and she let them gather around her to find out whether the baby she was supposedly carrying was a boy or a girl. People cheered for her. People hugged her. People took pictures and posted them online, and Taylor Parker stood in the middle of all of it, wearing her fake belly, smiling, and let the entire world believe that something beautiful was on the way. For 10 months, Taylor Parker kept this going. 10 months of wearing the silicone belly every single day. 10 months of fake doctor visits, and fake updates, and fake conversations about names and nurseries, and what life was going to look like when the baby arrived. 10 months of watching the people who loved her live inside a story that was never real. And 10 months of knowing, somewhere deep inside herself, that the day of reckoning was getting closer. Because the due date was approaching, and soon, very soon, the people around her were going to expect to see a real baby. Wade was going to expect to hold a real baby, and Taylor Parker had nothing but a silicone belly and a lie that had grown so large it had taken on a life of its own. Most people, when they find themselves standing at the edge of a lie that size, eventually stop. They find a way to tell the truth, and they accept what comes with it. But Taylor Parker did not stop, because stopping meant losing Wade. Stopping meant losing everything she had built the lie to protect. And so, instead of stopping, Taylor Parker began looking for a way out. That was when she found Reagan. Reagan Simmons Hancock was a 21-year-old young woman who lived not far from Taylor Parker. Reagan was genuinely pregnant, 36 weeks along, which means her baby was almost fully grown and nearly ready to come into the world. Reagan had a 3-year-old daughter at home. Reagan had a future ahead of her. She was young, and she was healthy, and she was excited, and she was counting down the days the way that only a woman who is about to become a mother again truly can. Reagan Simmons Hancock had absolutely no idea that Taylor Parker knew about her pregnancy. She had no idea that Taylor Parker had been paying attention. She had no idea that in the mind of Taylor Parker, everything about Reagan's situation had begun to look like a solution to a problem. Reagan had no idea what was coming. On the morning of October 9th, 2020, Taylor Parker got up, she got dressed, she got into her car, and she drove to Reagan Simmons Hancock's house at 7:30 in the morning. Now think about what that morning must have looked like from Reagan's side. It was early, the house was quiet, her 3-year-old daughter was home with her, and then there was a knock at the door. Someone Reagan recognized, someone who seemed familiar, someone who smiled at her from the doorstep and gave her not a single reason to feel anything other than safe. Reagan Simmons Hancock opened her front door. She had absolutely no idea. That is the part of the story that never leaves you once you have heard it. Reagan had no warning, no sign, no moment where something told her to step back or close the door or reach for her phone. She simply opened the door the way any of us would open a door on an ordinary morning to someone we recognized. And in that one moment, everything changed. What happened inside that house in the minutes that followed was described in court as one of the most violent crime scenes that investigators in that county had ever encountered. Reagan fought back. The evidence showed that clearly. She had been attacked in multiple different areas of her home, which meant she had moved, which meant she had refused to stop fighting, which meant that Reagan Simmons Hancock had tried with absolutely everything she had to stay alive for herself and for her children. Taylor Parker stabbed Reagan Simmons Hancock 113 times and struck her in the head with a hammer. Then Taylor Parker performed a crude procedure to remove Reagan's unborn baby from her womb. And she walked out of that house, got into her car, and drove away. Reagan Simmons Hancock was 21 years old. She was left on the floor of her own home. Her 3-year-old daughter was still inside that house. Taylor Parker drove away with Reagan's baby in her arms, but the baby was not breathing properly, and Taylor Parker knew that if she did not get help, the baby was not going to survive. And so Taylor Parker did something that tells you everything you need to know about just how far from reality she had traveled. She called the emergency services herself. She told the operator that she had just given birth unexpectedly in her car and that the baby was not breathing. She said she was performing CPR while she drove and she needed help immediately. She spoke the way a frightened new mother would speak, calm enough to give information, desperate enough to sound real. And not once did the words she was saying match what she had just done. A Texas State Highway trooper pulled her over after she was reported for speeding on the highway. The officer walked up to the car, and what he found inside that vehicle stopped him completely. Taylor Parker was in the driver's seat. There was a newborn baby in the car, and lying on the floor of the vehicle in plain sight was the silicone fake pregnancy belly that Taylor Parker had been wearing every single day for 10 months. Taylor Parker was taken into custody. A little girl that Reagan had already named Braxlyn Sage did not survive. Back at Reagan's house, when her family could not reach her and the silence started feeling wrong, police were called. They arrived to find what Taylor Parker had left behind inside that home. And somewhere inside that house, Reagan's 3-year-old daughter had been there through all of it. When investigators pieced together the full picture of what had happened and why, the entire country went quiet, in the way it only goes quiet when something occurs that nobody has the words for. 10 months of lies, a fake belly, forged ultrasound pictures, a gender reveal party filled with people who genuinely believed they were celebrating a new life. And at the end of all of it, a 21-year-old young mother who had been growing a real baby and counting down the days to meet her child had been taken from her home and from her children on an ordinary Friday morning by a woman she had let through her front door. Taylor Parker was charged with capital murder. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Prosecutors laid out every single detail of the 10-month lie that had led to that morning. The jury saw the fake belly. They saw the forged ultrasound pictures. They heard every text message and every conversation. They saw the crime scene photographs. They heard about Reagan's 3-year-old daughter, and they heard about Braxlyn Sage. The jury deliberated for 1 hour. Taylor Parker was found guilty of capital murder and sentenced to death. Taylor Parker is currently sitting on death row in the state of Texas. She has filed appeal after appeal, trying to overturn her conviction. In November 2025, her first appeal was denied. In March 2026, she took her case all the way to the United States Supreme Court, arguing that she had not received a fair trial. In May 2026, the Supreme Court denied her appeal without a single word of explanation. Taylor Parker is still waiting for the date of her execution. Netflix released a documentary about this story called Maternal Instinct in June 2026. And since the day it dropped, the world has not been able to stop talking about Taylor Parker and about Reagan Simmons Hancond, and about the morning that changed everything. But there are questions that no documentary and no courtroom has ever fully answered. How did the people who were closest to Taylor Parker, the people who hugged her and celebrated with her and spoke to her every single week, spend 10 full months believing in a pregnancy that was never real, without a single moment of doubt? Was there ever one person who almost saw through it and chose to look away? And the question that sits at the very center of this story and never leaves: what was Taylor Parker thinking in the moments after she walked out of Reagan's house and got into that car? Did she truly believe for even 1 second that what she had done was something she could walk away from? Tell us what you think about Taylor Parker in the comments below. We read every single one.